All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about generating the profiles in Rhino for taking them into Adobe Illustrator and then eventually into InDesign for printing. So what we have asked you guys to do is, and these are again the examples that you've been provided, is to take an image and start to extract accurate profiles from that. And so what does that mean? That means that there should be some understanding of guide and circle and how those forms are generated accurately. They're not just drawn, right? Even when you're adapting to an existing file that may not have something as rigorous as the Campo Marzio or a predefined pattern like um, under like the this Turkish pattern group there. So like even when you're here, you're developing relationships and creating edges that come in and speak about the way that the geometry is arranged, giving you very specific profiles. So really the goal here is to sort of enjoy yourself and do some analytical extraction, and generate lots of different versions and then sort of curate them to the ones that you and your instructor and the TA feel like will be best to move forward into the next part of the project. There really is no right or wrong in the beginning. Really, accuracy and the way that you start to build the project is what is important. And also doing the process over and over again and sort of learning um, good basic drawing organization and creation skills within the program. So there's a few things that I wanted to start out with that might make your life a little easier, but they make my life easier, so I'll share them with them. You'll see if it's worth your time. One is that when I'm drawing on these images, sometimes I will get a little lost, if I come up here and we take a look. Sometimes it's hard to see in the background what you're working on. And so what I'll often do is I'll pick the image. So I've got the image selected here, and if I'm in the sort of object properties of the image, there is a material under the object properties, and if I click on that material, there's actually a transparency option. And so you can actually pull the transparency down to sort of help you start to see a little bit better um, what you're working on. The other thing that you can do is there's a print display, and we'll be using this on and off throughout the semester. And so I'm going to type print display. And what it allows you to do is turn it on, and it will actually give you a line weight estimate. So I'm clicking on state and going to on, and you'll see now it's kind of giving you the thicker line weight for the cut line and the thinner line weight for the guidelines and the center lines. And then there's your centers for the circle. You have multiple options within this. So if I go to the color option, that was just the state. I go to the color, you can go to display and it'll show the layer colors. You can also change the thickness to make it thicker. It's a display option, so I think the thickest line is a 40, but if I go to 80, right, and hit enter, then that gets even thicker. So this may help. I wouldn't go overboard, but then you can really sort of start to see and work. And we're not printing the images from here, so you can go in and at any time really and change the transparency back, to 0, right? And even with the print display and a little thicker, it works better to be able to see to draw. So that's one thing, or a couple of things that I would recommend. The other things I would recommend is getting used to the keystrokes, LI for line and that kind of thing. When you're working here, a lot of the commands we're probably just going to be using line, but sometimes it's nice just to pull these guys out and have them, because people tend to use the very first one and not even realize that there are other options for these. And so you can come in and kind of pull these out so they are available to you quickly. So you have to do the fly out and kind of hover over them and all that kind of stuff. So you might want to pull out a few of these guys to get started and maybe even play around with them. right? Like some of the ones that you might not have thought of. Under the lines, there's one that might tangent to two curves, right? So let me go ahead and go to my layers, and I'll make the cut layer current, and I'll pick that tangent to two curves. And then it asks you first curve near a tangent point, and you just pick there, and then you pick another curve, and it draws the tangent between the two of them. So that's a really nice option. And so exploring different ways of creating things. So arcs from this created from the center, and a partial arc, or arcs created from 3 points, or arc start end, and you can type in the radius, all sorts of things. So I would recommend, taking advantage of this to go in and start to explore some of the other options for you. I mean, even the circle, there's like best fit, like you can just pick a bunch of points and it'll fit it for you. So sometimes it's interesting just to check that stuff out.